Do you ever feel like there's a particular kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from doing too much? It comes from gripping onto life so tightly that nothing else can breathe. Tightly to plans, to resentment, to control, to old versions of yourself, to responsibilities that quietly stopped being yours like 3 years ago. Some people burn out because life asks too much of them. Others burn out because they cannot imagine ever putting anything down. And I think that that's the uncomfortable meeting point between this week's double Torah portion, Behar and Bechukotai. One asks, can you release? The other asks, can you take responsibility? At first glance, they sound contradictory. One about letting go, one about stepping up. But together they force a much sharper question. Do you actually know the difference between what is yours to carry and what isn't? Behar introduces the idea of Shemitah. Every seventh year the land rests, which is already strange enough. An entire agricultural society told, stop, don't maximize, don't extract, don't push the ground until there's nothing left. And beneath the economic logic is something deeper and much more psychologically difficult. Trust. Because Shemitah requires people to loosen their grip on productivity, on ownership, on control. The Torah says, V'shavta ha'aretz Shabbat Hashem, the land shall rest, a Sabbath for Hashem. Not because the land is lazy, because the Torah does not measure worth by endless output. And this is where Behar gets under my skin, because I don't naturally trust release. I trust effort, I trust momentum, I trust making myself useful. I trust the feeling of being needed probably a lot more than I should. And over time, that creates its own kind of gravity. You keep saying yes, keep carrying things, keep responding quickly enough that nothing fully catches up to you. Until eventually you realize some of what you're carrying stopped being necessary a long, long time ago. You're just used to the weight now. So the first kavanah I'm carrying this week from Behar is this: to trust in release, rest, and renewal. Not as passivity, as wisdom, because some things only heal when you stop gripping them so tightly. And the question I'm asking myself this Shabbat is, what am I clinging to that is costing me peace? But then comes Bechukotai, and the Torah changes tone completely. Suddenly the language becomes heavier. Consequences, accountability. What happens when avoidance compounds over time? And what strikes me is that Bechukotai is not really describing dramatic collapse. It's describing drift, the slow accumulation of neglected responsibility, the cost of repeatedly refusing to deal with what already needs attention. And honestly, that feels very modern, because most avoidance does not look dramatic. It looks like, I'll deal with that later, or I just need one quieter week first, or I know this conversation needs to happen, but not right this moment. Or maybe this problem just isn't urgent yet. And meanwhile, things grow roots. Bechukotai refuses denial. It insists that reality does not disappear just because we delay facing it. And that lands uncomfortably hard for me, because there are things I avoid not because I don't know they matter, but because I know exactly how much they matter. Some conversations, some decisions, some truths. Avoidance is rarely confusion. Usually it's emotional self-protection. So the second kavanah I'm carrying this week from Bechukotai is this: to choose responsibility over avoidance. Not hyper-responsibility, not carrying the whole world on my shoulders. Real responsibility. Facing what is actually mine to face. And the question I'm asking myself this Shabbat is, what problem keeps growing because I won't face it? And I think the deeper wisdom of these two parashiot together, these two Torah portions, is that a mature life requires both release and responsibility. Because if you only release, you drift endlessly. And if you only carry, you break. The challenge is learning discernment. What needs to be confronted? What needs to be relinquished? What needs repair? What needs rest? And the questions I want to leave you with this Shabbat are, What are you holding on to right now that feels heavy, not because it's important, but because it was never meant to be carried indefinitely? And alongside that, what are you hoping time will solve that actually requires your action? Because Behar and Bechukotai together refuse two fantasies at once, that you can carry everything forever and that you can avoid reality without consequence. You can't. Eventually, something must be released. Eventually, something must be faced. The wisdom is knowing which is which. Shabbat Shalom.